In New York politics, Attorney General Letitia James stands out as both a champion and a lightning rod. Her progressive agenda and high-profile legal battles have won her praise and criticism alike. Republican challenger Michael Henry claims James's policies are driving up costs, stifling growth and neglecting public safety. Henry argues James is more focused on partisan battles than on the real needs of New Yorkers, especially in crime, the economy, and energy. He says her lack of cooperation with law enforcement has left many residents feeling unsafe and unheard. This raises a clash of visions: James's activist approach versus Henry's call for law and order and economic stability. Michael Henry's main attack centers on the economy, a topic he says is top of mind for most New Yorkers today. He argues that under James's leadership, the cost of living has soared, and the city's once thriving business environment has suffered. Henry points to rising rents, shuttered storefronts, and a sense of uncertainty among entrepreneurs as evidence that James's policies are stifling growth and innovation. He blames James's regulations for making New York unaffordable and unfriendly to business, claiming that excessive red tape and new taxes have forced many small businesses to close their doors. According to Henry, these policies have discouraged investment and made it harder for new ventures to get off the ground. He also criticizes her energy policies, arguing that blocking local energy development has driven up costs for families and businesses. Henry says that higher utility bills are squeezing household budgets and making it more difficult for companies to stay competitive. Henry claims that if New York tapped its own resources, energy bills could drop dramatically. He insists that responsible development of natural gas and other local energy sources would create jobs, lower costs, and help the state become more self-sufficient. He also accuses James of waging a war on agriculture, saying new regulations are crushing dairy farmers and threatening upstate livelihoods. Henry highlights stories of family farms struggling to survive, arguing that these rules are out of touch with rural realities and risk erasing a vital part of New York's heritage. According to Henry, these policies are pushing jobs and families out of the state. He points to a growing trend of residents leaving New York in search of better opportunities elsewhere, warning that the state's future prosperity is at risk if these trends continue. He frames James's agenda as disconnected from the economic realities of everyday New Yorkers, suggesting that her priorities do not reflect the struggles faced by working families, small business owners, and those living paycheck to paycheck. The result, he says, is a state where it's harder than ever to build a stable life, with fewer opportunities for the next generation. Henry warns that unless there's a change in direction, New York risks losing its reputation as a place where anyone can succeed. Henry highlights the firing of thousands of correctional officers, describing it as a turning point for many families across New York. These officers, once the backbone of the state's prison system, suddenly found themselves without work, struggling to provide for their loved ones. The layoffs, Henry argues, weren't just numbers on a page. They were real people, with real stories, who dedicated their lives to public service. He points to these job losses as a prime example of James's disregard for working families, especially those who have long supported their communities. The impact rippled far beyond the prison gates, affecting local businesses, schools, and the very fabric of small towns. He says these layoffs devastated upstate communities, leaving families without jobs and few options. Many were forced to move away in search of work, while others faced mounting bills and uncertainty about their future. Henry also points to dairy farmers, arguing that James's legal pressures and regulations are forcing multi-generational farms to close. These farms, some of which have been in families for generations, are now shuttered, their barns empty and fields untended. The message, he claims, is that rural livelihoods are expendable in pursuit of a political agenda. Farmers who once fed their neighbors now face bankruptcy, and entire rural communities are left wondering if they have a place in the state's future. This, Henry argues, has created a deep divide between state government and the people it serves. The sense of disconnect grows as more families feel ignored by leaders in Albany. The result is growing resentment and a sense of abandonment outside New York City. Small towns that once thrived now struggle to survive, their main streets lined with empty storefronts and fading hope. For Henry, these stories of lost jobs and shuttered farms are the real cost of James's leadership, a cost measured not just in dollars but in broken communities and dreams put on hold. Critics accuse Letitia James of turning the Attorney General's office into a political weapon, targeting adversaries instead of serving all New Yorkers. The most prominent example, her aggressive pursuit of Donald Trump, which Henry calls a political prosecution. He argues that James's focus on Trump diverts resources from urgent issues like crime and consumer protection. This, critics say, erodes trust in the legal system and sets a dangerous precedent for future political retaliation. Henry warns that politicizing the office undermines equal justice and deepens division. The question, is James serving justice or her party's interests? Letitia James, New York's Attorney General, now finds herself at the center of her own legal storm. Recent mortgage fraud charges have cast a significant shadow over her office, raising eyebrows across the state and beyond. The allegations are serious, and they come at a time when public trust in government is already fragile. As the news broke, it sent shockwaves through political circles and left many New Yorkers questioning the integrity of their leaders. James has strongly denied any wrongdoing, calling the allegations politically motivated and part of a broader effort to undermine her work. Meanwhile, her opponent Michael Henry argues that these charges expose a troubling double standard, one set of rules for those in power, and another for ordinary citizens. The debate has only intensified, with both sides trading accusations and rallying their supporters. These charges, along with ongoing criticisms of the Attorney General's office, have sparked a broader conversation about fairness, transparency, and accountability at the highest levels of state government. Many are now asking whether justice is truly blind, or if political influence can tip the scales. For countless New Yorkers, this moment is a test of the state's values, a chance to see if leaders are genuinely held to the same standards as the people they serve. The public's response will reveal much about the current mood and expectations of the electorate. The debate over Letitia James's leadership has become more than just a political fight. It's now a referendum on the direction New York will take. Will the state embrace activist change or reaffirm its commitment to traditional law and order? The answer could redefine what justice means in New York. Ultimately, it's up to the voters. They must weigh the competing visions and decide which path best serves their lives, their communities, and the very identity of the state itself. The stakes have rarely felt higher. The outcome of this pivotal moment will shape New York's future for years to come, influencing not just policy, but the spirit and character of the Empire State.